Alright, welcome everybody to another mixing video. Today we're going to be looking at a cool reverb trick that I like to use, and that is a dual mono reverb. So a lot of times people like to use stereo reverbs to get some width, and I do that often, but sometimes you get a little bit more separation if you actually use two reverbs and pan them left or right. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. So we're going to take a look at a vocal, and I'm going to use a UAD plate, and I'm going to use two of them, one pan to the left and one to the right. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate the trick, and then we'll talk a little bit about it afterwards. Okay, so here's our first one. We'll tweak that in a little bit. So what I'm going to go ahead and do here is pan that one to the left. And I'll go back and I'll create another one. I'm sending this to my vocal effects bus. And I'll pull up another mono version of the EMT plate. And I'll name that right vocal verb. And I'll go to the return and pan that to the right. Okay. So first let's just hear how it sounds without any tweaking, and then we'll go in and tweak both of those and talk about it a little bit more.
Now wild, lonely dreams, I won't follow them. Somewhere at the bottom of the deepest well, I realize I've lost it. Sunday in the station, and I'm looking down the tracks. You can come back now. Everybody's in the room tonight.
Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. So to me, this really just what it does is it creates some separation while also giving it some width. So the vocal in the center is dry, but you can see that we have some reverb on the left and right. So let's take a look at the plugin real quick. So let's start from the left to the right. So I filter out all the way up to 360 on the actual plugin itself, but that's it's real gentle. So I actually do some more EQing later. Medium decay, right? I use plate B because it's a little bit darker. This is my favorite out of the three plate emulations here. So sort of a medium decay time, not too long, not too short. Okay, moving on. I dial back the width all the way to 0 because I don't want this to be stereo. I want this to be all the way mono. And you can see here that I could have left the return in the center and then just panned it on the plugin, but I actually like to go in and pan it on the return. So this is all the way to the left. This is kind of bypassed in a way, I guess. I don't use the EQ on here. Sometimes I do, but in this case I like to do it on the actual return channel. I didn't use the modulation, but what another cool thing that you can do is you can set 2 different modulation rates, and that will actually give you some more width. But to me, I didn't feel that it needed that. But that's just another thing that you can try on your own. If your reverb doesn't have modulation on it, you can put like 2 choruses after. So the next plugin would be like a chorus or flanger or any kind of modulation effect, and you just dial it in real subtly and have 2 different rates, one sort of slow and one a little faster, and that'll give it a little more width. And one of the things that I've been experimenting a lot more with vocal reverbs in particular, I like to use quite a bit of pre-delay because it kind of makes it not sound so washed out. So I basically did the same thing on both of the plugins, both the left and the right, and as usual I filtered out a lot of the low end and a lot of the top end just to make it not so washed out, I guess. To me it's just, it gets a little muddy in the low end, and I don't like it to muddy up my mix, so I filter that out. And then it's just a little too hyped for me in the high end, so I filter that out as well. Then dialed it back about minus 9 dB because I don't want it to overpower the vocal. I just want it to be giving it some width. And another way that you can get a little more separation is by coming in here and EQing both the left and right side differently. So for example, on the left side I could boost about 1K, and then in the right side I would cut, and then maybe I would do a boost around like 500, which is sort of not a, let's not boost at 500. Let's say I boosted at like 7K here on the right, I would cut on the left around 7K. So that's another way to get some separation. So now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to create one more reverb, and this one's going to be a stereo one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of process it the same way, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare a stereo vocal reverb versus this dual mono one, so you can hear the difference in the separation. So it was around here at 2. This is up to 360. And pre-delay here. But notice the width is now at 100. And I'll come into the vocal reverb and just filter it out. It was around 250 to 300, and then 3K here. I'll just dial it back about minus 9. Okay. Come back to the start of this vocal here, and we'll first do the dual mono reverb, and then we will compare that to the stereo reverb. So I'll quick link these, and let's give that a listen.
Sunday in the station, and I'm looking down the tracks. You can come back now. Everybody's in the room tonight. You're still far away, and no restless city streets, all these wild, lonely dreams. I won't follow them. Somewhere at the bottom of the deepest well, I realize I've lost it.
Okay, so you could really tell the difference there in solo, the different amount of separation there. Now, is one better than the other? No, I wouldn't say that one is better than the other. It's just different, you know? So you might think, okay, well, I don't want it to be washed out. I don't want there to be any of that real big, roomy, ambient sound in the center. And that's when you would go for this dual mono one. But maybe you do want that sound. Like for a ballad or something like that, I would almost never use this dual mono sound. I would use the stereo one because I want that room sound or ambient sound. Like if it was just a piano and a vocal, I would almost always use a stereo reverb. And maybe I would send the piano to it too as well. But for this track, this is sort of more like a indie pop rock type of thing going on. And I want that vocal to be dry in the center and just give it a sense of space. So that's why I used the dual mono reverb here. And you can hear the separation. Now, let's just go ahead and try the little trick that I referred to earlier with the modulation, just so you can hear it. And then we'll call it a day. So I have both of them up here. I have the left reverb and the right reverb, and we'll just mess around here with the delay, or the modulation. And let's hear how that widens this up.
Sunday in the station, and I'm looking down the tracks. You can come back now. Everybody's in the room tonight. You're still far away, and no restless city streets, all these wild, lonely dreams. I won't follow them. Somewhere at the bottom of the deepest well, I realize I've lost it. Sunday in the station, and I'm looking down the tracks. You can come back now. Everybody's in the room tonight. You're still far away,
Okay, so to me, actually, I said before that I didn't think that it needed that, but to me that actually helped out quite a bit. So let's check that out real quick. Um, so basically, this one is a lot faster. This one's a lot longer. I mean, I went both extremes. And for the faster one, I kept the depth more shallow, and then on the long one, I made the depth really wide. So yeah, that just adds to the width of that. I mean, this modulation technique, I'll make a video on that later on down the road, but you can actually use that in itself. If you want a vocal to be a little bit wider, or a guitar part, or a keyboard. In fact, this reverb trick can be applied to a guitar or piano or anything really. But this reverb and modulation trick can be applied to any of those things. But yeah, you could use just like 2 choruses or 2 flangers, or a flanger and a phaser, or 2 different types of modulation effects. As long as it's 2 different rates and 2 different depths, and they're both panned left or right, or left and right, you'll get a real sense of adding some width there. And that's a really cool trick. So I'll make a video on that later on. So I hope that you learned something from this video. I think this is a pretty neat trick. I use this quite a bit, but it's not something that you use on every mix. But you know, try it out on your mix and see if you like it better than using a stereo one. And if not, then hey, just use the stereo one. That's all you need to do. So once again, I hope you learned something from this. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. If you didn't like it or you didn't learn anything, you can go ahead and give it a dislike. That's fine. You're entitled to your opinion, as I always say. If you really liked it, please subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that. I'm almost to 100 subscribers, which I think is amazing. I really didn't think that I would gain that many subscribers, as I've only been doing this for about 3 months. And I just want to say thank you once again to all of you who have subscribed and have kept up in watching my videos. I really appreciate it. You guys are the best. So thank you so much for watching. Please stay tuned for some more videos, and I hope to see you next time. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.